this on you.
This was the first time I pointed a camera at Professor Martin Polyakov back in 2008.
Thread that up through under your jumper.
It seems I've been filming him ever since. For me, meeting someone so passionate about his subject brought back memories.
So think back to when you were at school.
As a schoolboy in Australia, I'd been fascinated by science. Meeting the professor led to a crazy idea. Let's make a video about every single chemical element, all 118 of them.
So I should look at you rather than or the camera?
We called it the periodic table of videos. A few weeks later, we filmed our first elements. A test of endurance rather than anything.
Let's give it a go.
So, welcome to our periodic table videos. Hydrogen is the lightest element.
Number 2, helium.
So helium is probably the most unreactive of the elements.
Number 3, lithium.
So lithium is the lightest metal.
No script, just an almost encyclopedic knowledge of chemistry.
So potassium is very reactive. One of my colleagues who used to work with it described it as evil.
Oh, wicked.
Potassium is very important. Our bodies contain quite a lot of potassium. It's in all sorts of biological material. If you burn garden rubbish, in the ash that you get in the end is potassium, which is presumably why it's called potash.
But even professors have their limitations, and Martin's seem to be at number 108.
What's the next element?
Hassium. I know nothing about hassium. Should we make something up?
Luckily, colleagues were on hand to help. Debbie Kays.
That's history by a chemist, which probably isn't very good.
Steve Little. Neil Barnes. Samantha Tang.
It's a 50-50 mix of the two.
5, 4,
and the explosive Pete Licence.
1.
That was more like
Lovely.
But the frizzy-haired professor was the project's heart and soul.
And you can imagine the periodic table a bit like a family photograph.
We soon realised we had a YouTube hit on our hands. Martin became something of a celebrity, in demand for newspaper interviews at home and further afield. Then a cameo on America's CBS News.
For all his celebrated work as a research chemist and university professor, Martin Polyakov didn't become a celebrity till he got on the internet.
I know a lot of people who aren't interested in science, and as soon as he pops up on the screen and starts talking, people just look and listen.
I really enjoy making the videos because I enjoy talking to the viewers and also finding simple ways of explaining things. I suppose I've learnt a bit of how to present things. I'm much more critical now when I see people on television. I get really cross when I think they've spent too much money on a series and think what we could have done with similar funding.
Emails from fans were flooding in. More and more teachers were using the films in schools. These youngsters in New York even quizzed their online hero.
Hi Professor, my question is it aluminum or aluminium? Because I want to know what to call my aluminium model.
Hi, it's a great model and you should call it aluminium.
But it was here, in India, that I realised the professor had achieved cult status.
For the chemist, I'd like to give him my tie. It's been a terrific day. I'm very excited, pretty tired. Everyone wanted my photograph. Even the chef was photographed with me from the restaurant.
Why do they want your photograph?
Because I look so silly.
Of course, by now we'd exhausted the 118 elements, but the net was cast wider.
I hadn't expected it to be quite so... Wow!
After all, everything's made of chemicals.
There's 17.98 grams. So this is more than enough to make over 300 standard tablets of Viagra. Now, I'm not going to open it because after that, none of my male colleagues would want to come into my office.
As the videos evolved, the professor has opened up more about his own life, made films on personal subjects, such as the sad passing of friends and colleagues.
And to drink a toast to the memory of Tony.
He may look the stereotypical scientist, but Martin's anything but a cold, analytical researcher.
And just to say to all of you that it's very important, whoever you are, to remember the people that helped you as a child and made you what you are today.
Then last year, a special accolade for the professor. He was appointed Foreign Secretary of the Royal Society.
The lead role in the Royal Society for making sure that the Royal Society and science in the UK is recognised and promoted internationally, and he is forging links and collaborations and is generally helping to promote collaborations between UK scientists and other scientists around the world.
It's a fantastic mark of achievement for Martin. We're all incredibly proud of him, and we wish him the best of luck in the position and hope that, well, he can go forward and make changes to science on a global scale.
And now the YouTube viewing figures had soared into the millions.
So, let's try and see what happens.
Something we'd never dreamed of on that first day in June 2008.
Nothing may happen because it's an old sample, but let's have a look. Are you ready? Go. Not bad.
The periodic table of videos had gone global.
We're in Sydney, Australia. So here we are on the summit of the Corcovado, and behind me is the famous statue of Christ the Redeemer. So we're in Darmstadt in Germany, where they made 6 different super heavy elements, and I'm just going to show you how they did it.
In a surreal twist, the professor even appeared in the Guinness Book of Records. The world's smallest periodic table etched on one of his hairs.
We could get 1 million of those periodic tables onto one of these post-it notes.
There'd been meetings with Nobel Prize winners. We'd even won a few prizes ourselves.
It's made a new discovery. It's a new element. It's called awardium.
It's been a wonderful exploration. I'd never have done any of that without the videos.
But for me, it really became personal when we both made a trip to Australia. Between lectures and a bit of sightseeing, we made a visit to my hometown of Adelaide and dropped in on my old school, where perhaps the seeds were sown for this whole crazy endeavour.
This is the very periodic table that Brady sat looking at, and they've still got the same periodic table.
And amazingly, still here was my teacher who inspired me almost 20 years ago.
Some may be out. They're called donkey orchid. Martin, have a look at this blue orchid. What a stunning beauty, eh?
2 men from opposite sides of the world, both igniting a passion for chemistry.
So how do you actually inspire your students? What do you do that makes them excited?
I do nothing except what's in me already. I am fascinated by science. I've got a passion for young people and science and all those things that make life possible. And maybe that has rubbed off.
Now, I don't know what's next for the periodic videos, and I'm not sure the professor does either.
Your mind is a bit like soup. It has to be stirred up all the time, and then interesting vegetables float to the surface and so on.
But from my side of the lens, it's already been an amazing journey.